Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? What up, everybody? Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. Today I'm going to keep the train rolling, trying to get through some of the questions from you guys. I love these questions. This first one's really, really good. I think a lot of people are going to relate with this. If you're a stage 2 business, stage 1, stage 2, maybe even stage 3, this is a tricky one and it's a really good question. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get into the question, then I'll give you my thoughts on it.
Hey Josh, my name is Chris Heffernan. I own a window cleaning, power washing, gutter cleaning business out of Indiana. My main question was, last year it was my third year in business on my own. I worked for a company for 3 years before I branched off on my own, deciding to do it. It's funny, I also owned a Chevy Cavalier that strapped a ladder to it, and I had that only, fortunately, for a couple of weeks. Anyways, my question was, last year we did a gross revenue of around $240,000, which is great. I've been listening to your podcast. I actually just got into it as of recently, and how your mindset is to build a machine that works without you there. Now I can, fortunately now, go on vacations for a week or 2 weeks and train and do things that I like to do without being there. But the problem is, I feel like I'm to the point where I now need an office rep or receptionist. I don't have any experience with that. As of today, I do pretty much everything myself behind the curtains as far as the marketing goes, the calls, the estimates. I do let a couple of my guys do the estimates, but as far as the callbacks, the customer callbacks and all of that, I do all of that. And I need to get somebody to do that. My problem is I just don't know sending an office rep or somebody that doesn't actually do the services to a customer's house to do estimates, or to call them that doesn't necessarily do the work, if they're going to have the experience they need to really give the customers the answers to the questions they have. So that's kind of where I'm at there. So that's basically what I need, I feel like, for 2018. Our numbers are set to be between $300,000 and $350,000 this year, which is great for money, but as far as my sanity, I'm getting to the point where I'm doing too much. So I just need to pick your brain there as far as an office rep goes. That's the main question that I have. Getting someone to do that, getting someone to handle my marketing, getting someone to handle my lead services, and what your thoughts are on that. And that's about it. I appreciate your time. Thanks. Bye.
What a great question. Thank you so much, Chris, for calling in and asking it. It's going to help a lot of people. This is a tricky one. So if you're in the home service industry or any industry, when it comes time to start letting someone else talk to your actual customers, answer real questions, even technical questions, it's kind of freaky, right? It horrifies us. Like, what's going to happen if you have a roof cleaning business and there's all this techno babble that you know, right? When someone says, well, does your service include this? Or, what kind of chemical do you use for that? How in the world can you have an office manager, someone who's never been in the field, effectively answer those questions? So here's how to do this. First of all, you got to understand that this has to happen, okay? Just get over the fact that it's going to be hard and tricky and weird and it makes you nervous. Get over that, because it has to happen. You can't scale unless we have someone in what I call the mothership. The office is the mothership, right? You have everything feeding data and info into the mothership. So you got your crews putting in their work logs and letting the mothership know what happened that day and what equipment needs to be ordered and what this customer said and how they gave an estimate to someone that walked up to them. And then you have the phone and email system going into the mothership, right? And they have to be responsive and over-the-top friendly, and they have to answer questions, and they have to move quick. And then you have, financial stuff and bookkeeping and payroll and all this stuff. Like, that is like the main hub, right, of your business, and then everything else is like a spoke off that hub. So this is a really important hire for your company. Picking the right person is really, really important. You need someone that's highly organized, someone that can multitask without panicking and freaking out and hyperventilating. And you need someone, possibly even most importantly, that is really, really over-the-top friendly in their normal life. Not someone who can just turn on a switch and do it, but someone who has a great attitude and has a really good voice inflection. You know, I'm really big on the way that you sound on the phone, because this is one of the easiest, cheapest ways to set your company apart from all the other companies, because the level of service out there is low. Like, it's not that hard to compete and win. If you think about it, it's really not, because people are terrible. So here's what you want to do, though. Once you find that right person, once you go deep on recruiting and you're really careful and you find that over-the-top friendly person with a great attitude who can hopefully multitask without panicking and is organized, one good tip to see if someone's organized is to go look at their car when they come in for an interview and see if there's like McDonald's bags all over the place, right? My truck is not organized. Like, I am not an organized person. My desk right now is not organized. I would do horrible in that role. And I did do that role for a while, and I held it together, but it was really hard for me, and I didn't enjoy it. You want to find someone who's naturally organized, who craves structure, because they can help you actually systemize this job position. Now, you're going to have some things in place in the beginning, and the office manager role is particularly tricky because you're going to have to work really closely with them for quite a while. But here's what I would do as a step one. When I made the hire, the first thing I would do is get this person in the field for like at least a week, maybe even 2 weeks, but at least a week. You want them to be exposed to what the crews are actually doing. You want them to understand how hard it is. You want them to understand how dangerous it is. You want them to understand the services themselves and what it looks like to have a house wash or a lawn mowed or a landscaping wall built. They need to see it. They need to be around it. And they also need to interact with all the other team members, because you know, it's funny, with different divisions in your company, the people that work in the field don't really respect the skill set that the office people bring, and the people in the office don't really respect how hard it is to be in the field, and so there's this weird like competitive thing that can happen sometimes. We don't want that to happen. Everybody's on the same page. You're going to clearly communicate to field workers how huge this new mothership worker is, and you're going to communicate to the new office manager, mothership worker, how big of a deal it is to be in the field and how hard those guys work in all that stuff, right? So get them in the field so they have a surface level view of all the services you offer, what it looks like, what it feels like, and how awesome it is. And then the other big point is to make sure that you train them right away and let them know that it's okay for them to say, you know, I'm not sure, but I can find out for you. Is it okay if I give you a call back? That is a huge, simple secret weapon. They don't have to know everything. They just have to be super friendly, answer the phone, be really responsive, and have a service heart, a service mindset. If you get someone like that, what happens over time is eventually all their questions get answered, right? They're going to get less and less and less. In the beginning, they're going to be calling you or Voxering you all the time, like, hey, this customer's asking if our chemical does this and this and this. And you're going to like really clearly tell them. Then they call back the customer and tell them. And it's not perfect in the beginning, because again, with all systems, we start out in a little bit more chaos and we attempt to move towards less chaos, right? Isn't that a huge insight? That's a big deal. You want to go from chaos towards less chaos. And the office manager role does take a little bit of time. The other thing is that it'll actually cost you more time to hire an office manager at first. So what that means is, and this is true with most systems, is in the beginning, it actually makes it harder on yourself temporarily. But the time you're going to save when you complete the cycle and you get this person trained correctly and you can take your hand off the wheel a little bit, is huge, right? And you have to do it. Going back to my original point, this has to happen. It's going to set you so free. It's going to set you free. So you get them in the field, you train them to say, you know, I'm not sure, but let me find out. And the reason you want to make that a specific point is because people feel pressure to have the answer to everything. It's okay if you don't know. I tell people I don't know all the time. People ask me a question, I'm like, you know, I'm honestly not sure. You know, that's not my strong suit. You know, we might want to do some more research or connect with some other people on that. That's perfectly acceptable. And the other thing is make a master list of all the FAQs that you can think of. You're going to miss some. It won't be perfect. Remember, done is better than perfect, but you know a lot of stuff. Like, do you do this? Do you do, like, I don't know. I'm not even going to try to make a fake list, but there's lots of things that customers have asked you when they called you or emailed you. Remember what those are. Write them out on a Word doc. and then answer them, and then save it and print it out, and that will be their training thing, right? And then quiz them on it and have them memorize it, and then, do a hot seat with them every morning where you start asking questions off that list, and then they have to effectively communicate it back to you, and then you coach them through, no, don't word it like that, word it like this. It's really important you say it like this, and you got to work really closely with them in the beginning for a while. Okay, but again, focus on their attitude and their over-the-top friendly voice inflection, and focus on that as your raw material. Everything else can be taught. Everything else can be trained. They don't have to be an expert carpet cleaner to be able to answer questions about carpet cleaning. It just takes a little bit of time, but it will so be worth it. So thank you so much for the call. Let's go ahead and play the next call, which is a unique one. This caller is talking about doing hard things. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Josh, it's Trent Davis. I just had a quick question. I got 3 businesses. 2 of them are basically automated right now, and the other one's kind of a product distribution business, which is kind of all on me, kind of a side gig. But what my question was I didn't know if there was a way that you could talk about, I know you talked about this before, but if there was a way that you could talk about doing hard things on your podcast, because I know my mindset is, you look at these lottery winners that win millions, they all just disappear because they don't know what the value of the dollar is. And when it falls in their lap, then, obviously they dump it quicker than they can, work for it. And then it's just crazy, these people that get money quick and then just disappear. And I just was thinking about my mindset and a lot of other entrepreneur mindsets. If you're somewhat of a hardcore entrepreneur, like I'd consider myself one, we don't want to get easy money. We kind of want it to be hard. Otherwise it wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to enjoy your weekend because you got it so easy. Now I know we shouldn't make it hard on us, but I know that, things are hard, and if they weren't hard, it wouldn't be the same. Like you always say, you learn the most when you're out in the grind, trying to get everything automated. You can't just automate things right off the bat because you don't know, what the heck you're doing. So I just didn't know if you could talk more about that in your podcast, because a lot of entrepreneurs, for myself, I know I would be insecure if a lot of money fell into my hand and I didn't work for it. It just would not feel right, I guess. And I think that's somewhat of an entrepreneur mindset. If you get it easy, then, what's the point of life? We aren't doing, what's the point of life? So I didn't know if you could talk about that, and I'll maybe have a couple other questions in the future. So I'll hold them in, because I know you're really busy. But if you can, throw that out in the podcast sometime. Let me know, what you think about that. Just having the mindset of doing things that are hard because you like doing hard things. You don't want it easy. We want it hard so we can, feel good about ourselves. So, all right, thanks. Bye.
Trent, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for leaving me that voicemail. This is a really interesting topic. And when I was young, and maybe a portion of you will relate with this, I was like clawing and searching and digging to find an easy way to make a whole bunch of money. When I was like 17 and 18, that's when I started reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and a whole bunch of books on real estate investing. I really wanted to go down that route. I was completely captivated by this idea that you could wholesale houses and you can do this and you can do that, or I could do small business home opportunities. Like I've done all this crazy stuff. I've joined multi-level marketing campaigns when I was still in high school, and I actually did really well. I made thousands of dollars doing it. I bought 15 candy machines and a credit card when I was 18 years old. My parents about threw up when they came home and their garage was full of boxes. I spent thousands of dollars on a credit card. The business failed. It did terrible. I started another business called Box Topping for Kids, which I should actually share that. That was a really cool idea. And it could have worked, but here is the problem, is that deep down, because I was immature and young, I was honestly trying to avoid hard work. I really was. And real wealth, real value is created in secret when you're doing all the unsexy pieces of a business. It's just the way that it is. And I think the big epiphany that I had was later in life when I started my company, about 25, my wife's pregnant, And I went into it with this different mentality. You know, I had worked in the corporate world. I had all these little businesses that I kind of screwed around with and never took too seriously in my past. And I made a decision about really what I wanted. And so there's actually a book out there, I think 2 young kids wrote it, called Do Hard Things. And I just think it's fascinating because it's not about beating yourself up or having to do hard things. What it is it's about getting over the fear of how hard things will be. And what I tell my kids all the time is it does not matter how hard something is. It only matters if it's worth it. I talk about this a lot. I do Facebook Lives on it all the time. I literally talk to my children about this all the time. Who cares how hard something is? The real question is it worth it? And so when people are trying to avoid pain, I think it's because they don't have a solid why. They don't really know what they want. They don't know what the final mountaintop, the outcome, the destination is for their life. And if you don't know what that is really specifically, if it's not like real inside your guts and you can feel it and you know that I was put on this earth to do this thing, then yeah, you're going to try to take the path of least resistance because, I mean, why wouldn't you, right? But once you latch onto that thing that you want so bad, your stomach hurts. Once you have that, doing hard things isn't actually that hard. The other benefit of doing hard things, other than the fact that that's where you actually build successful businesses, is in the spreadsheets and the unsexy system building and in the one-on-one conversations and doing boots on the ground marketing when you get no pats on the back, no one understands what you're putting out there, right? Like that's where the wealth is created. Other than that, it's that the hard things that you do, the systems you build, how deep you go on things, how hard you push your marketing, your blog, your relationship marketing, all that stuff, that's what protects your business. And it's also what separates your business from the competition. You got to understand that a lot of business owners have a lot of effort, but they're placing their effort in the wrong things in the wrong order. So a lot of people aren't trying to avoid hard things. They actually work really hard, but their business doesn't grow. And it's because they're working on the wrong things in the wrong order. So you do got to have a roadmap and a structure and an understanding of this different stages of business. That's why I kind of built that way of describing it. You know, stage 1 is when you're the technician in the field doing the thing most of the time. Stage 2 is when you're dealing with customers on the phone and via email and you're kind of sitting in your truck next to your crew. Like if you're kind of doing a lot of admin stuff and customer service, and you're still doing everything else, but if that's like 50% of your time, then you're stage 2. Stage 3 is when at least half of your time is directly spent doing proactive marketing, meaning like you're going out fishing, you are going hunting, you are going and getting deals, meeting people. And stage 4 is when you're the general manager over all of these other people. You have the sales team, you have the office team, you have the technicians. And then stage 5 is when you're a real business owner. And so doing hard things, I just want to make sure people aren't confused. It doesn't mean that you just have to work harder. What you got to do is not be afraid of the hard work, but make sure you understand what to work hard on, right? I tell my kids to do hard things, but that doesn't mean I want them to dig ditches for the rest of their life because that's a hard thing. But my point with all of this is that I don't really care how hard something is as long as it's worth it, right? And there is a lot of value when you go into the guts of your business and you figure things out for yourself and you actually solve the problems. If you struggle with math and finance and numbers, that's fine. But you are capable of understanding your margins and your cost of goods sold and getting an understanding of your pricing and the cost of doing business. Like, you have to do that. You can't buy your way out of stuff. You can't hire your way out of stuff. You do need to have a really good understanding of all the moving parts inside your company. And what happens is, because you're not good at that, you neglect it and put it off, and you never invest enough time doing that hard thing because it's not your skill set, and so you can never get out of it. Earlier I talked about how I was really bad as an office manager person. I was bad. I hated it. My truck had handwritten sticky notes everywhere, right? It was a mess. But when I wanted to scale, I built actual systems. I started looking at my scripts. I was super organized. I would do the whole process every time someone called without breaking protocol, even though I hated it, because it had to be done. That was an example of me doing hard things. And then when we hired an office manager, there was a framework in place. There was structure. It was done. No one saw me do those things, right? And so you can't just compare business A and business B and say they both work hard, but this guy's is working, this guy's isn't. It's because one person was willing to do the hard things in the areas of the business that the other person avoided. And sometimes we can kind of numb ourselves by just staying busy in the field, when deep down we know that we're putting off things that are important, and we just make excuses for it, or we keep ourselves busy so we don't have to think about it. I encourage you not to do that. I want you to have what you want. Your business is supposed to serve you and your family. It's supposed to be a slave to you. That is a real thing. Thousands of people all over the world know this. Do you know it? Is your business like that now? Is your business sellable if you get hurt? Can you transfer this as a legacy business to your kids when they grow up if they want to get involved in it? You can have all that, and it doesn't have to take 23 years to do it. But you have to do hard things. So thank you very much to the caller for that. I think that's a really good reminder. Listen, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow. I hope you're enjoying these question and answer things. I think they're pretty cool. Give me some feedback, though. I need to know. I got to have my pulse on what you guys want to hear from me, because my goal is to serve you at a high level and to over-deliver to you content that is valuable for you today, tomorrow, stuff that you can implement immediately. This podcast is a perfect example of jab, jab, right hook with the give, ask. That's what this is. I over-deliver to you. You implement things. You make a whole bunch of money. You have more freedom. You have an epiphany, right? You get that from this podcast. Guess who gave it to you? I did, right? Or one of our guests did. This Quick Talk podcast will facilitate massive value to you. Why? Because, I'm going to try to get you to buy stuff, but I don't do that very often. We're going to have the super course coming out. Yes, I'll be a relentless, broken sales circus monkey ninja screaming about that. We have the Automate, Grow, Sell Bootcamp, which is getting updated with new content from Brandon Vaughn, which is amazing. I'll be sharing that stuff with you. So, yes, we have products and services. I have SendGym. But if you buy nothing, my goal is to over-deliver to you, and I hope I'm doing that. But feedback from you is really valuable. That way I know what direction you want me to go in, what you're liking, what you're not liking. And thank you to everybody that's given me an iTunes review. And for all the people that have been sharing our podcast on social, I am seeing it. I have noticed our listens are going up every single week. Because of you, please don't stop. You guys are my super cool street team. Grab a link, share it in a Facebook group, a LinkedIn group, tag your friends in it. Like, new people need to hear this, people in different home service industries. I appreciate it so much. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Take care. God bless.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.